Alrighty, well, is this zoomed in? No, perfect. Alrighty, so got the storage server built here. Took a couple weeks to get all the parts and everything together, but got two SSDs here in the front, and then the rest are all hybrid SSD HDDs. So I think it has about like it has a small amount of SSD write cache in here, read and write cache in these drives, and then it settles everything to the disk themselves. So or the platters within the disk itself. So that is going to be the storage section, or the storage portion. It's going to be ZFS, and then these SSDs here are going to be being used as a I believe a ZIL in this case. I don't think I'll be doing L2 ARC or anything like that, but ZIL for read caching, I believe. Yeah, ZIL intent log. No, that's just for write caching. L2 ARC is for read caching, I believe. I'm probably wrong about that, but I believe it's going to be a ZIL because it's these are slower drives than something like an M2 base NVMe drive or something like that. But this is the business side of it here. Essentially, this is where everything is going to be covered. It has a non-window and a windowed side, USB 3.0. It actually has a slot in this case for a CD drive if I wanted. I added extra fans. I added extra fans here and there in the front on the other side of this as well. It comes with two fans. I have this ran. I had to put these this holder here, the zip tie holder, and then of course zip tie it in there so I can run the cables. I'm using SSD drives, so I can fit a lot more in this case. This case allows you to fit, I think it's four 3.5s in each one of these trays, so 8 total. But what I did is use the 3.5 to 2.5 adapters so that I can actually get more drives in there. So I actually have 8 drives on this side, and I may be putting another 8 on this side. Don't really need much storage for this. It's really just for the dev rack here. Dev rack. And I'll go over what I did with that dev rack as well here in a moment. But this is the front of it. It's the fractal design case. I believe it's the 804. It has a Ryzen 5 processor in it with Vega support. So it has the it's an APU, so it has the integrated video processor. I don't need it for much because literally that's all that's on the screen there. So on this side, it is a I'm trying to find the model number. Oh, here we go. It is the Asus TUF B450M Plus gaming motherboard. This had some pretty decent specs to it, and it fit in this case. I have 16 gigs of RAM, so 2 8-gig chips. I added an older PCI Express card that actually has an M2 solid state drive on there. That's 128 gigs. So that's where it boots from. Operating system and everything is on there. And then all my other secondary storage is connected to this, and those are the drives that are on the other side. This is an Avago LSI 9400 16i or -16i. So it has actually 16 ports, or 4 ports that allow you to connect up to 16 drives, 16 regular SATA SAS drives locally within the case. This with using SAS expanders, you can actually do you can actually address or communicate with up to 1024 SATA SAS drives, and it's also NVMe compatible, so I can connect up to 24 NVMe drives. And still be able to use the same card, otherwise, because NVMe will saturate the bus on this. The bus that it's connecting to, this is where you would classically put in your video card with the Ryzen 5 with Vega support. Since this motherboard supports Vega and non-Vega CPUs or APU CPUs. When it has an APU in the slot, the 16x slot here at the top where you would usually put your video card runs at 8x. So this card is an 8x card, which works fine for me. This card here below, I believe, is a 4x card, and this bus speed runs at 4x, so that works fine for me as well. This is a PCI Express 3.1, so with this I can do, I think, 8 tera. Yeah, I think it's like 8 tera operations, tera IOPS or something like that. But pretty much with this card I should be able to get towards not so much capacity, but I can get to higher end limits with this. So 3.1 card to 3.1 slot. Doesn't really do that though. You know, the drives are pretty slow and things like that, so you're always going to have those, or you're going to have that bottleneck. If I had NVMe drives, screaming. Also, I can add another NVMe drive here via the M2 connector that's right there, so it can go up to an M2 22110. So that's your longer cards, but I'll probably put in, I had spec'd earlier a NVMe 500 gig, and I might add that later as an L2 ARC or anything like that, just so I can just get a little bit more speed out of the array. But I might add that later on for read-or-write caching. Write caching would be best, I believe. I gotta brush up on my ZFS knowledge here. It's been a second since I had to really get into this, and I was researching it before and I just forgot all the information too. So there's that. But that's the Ryzen 5, and this Ryzen 5 I got it for a pretty decent price. It was actually on sale as well. I forgot the exact price, but this is the processor with the Radeon Vega graphics, the Ryzen 5, and it is the Ryzen 5 2400G, 4-core 8-thread processor, 3.9 gigahertz, max boost at 3.6. Max boost at 3.9, basis 3.6. Basically, this system here will be what I will call the growBox soil, if you will, just to give it a name. I don't really plan on putting something like this into production much, but it's good to test this. Essentially, what I'll be doing with this, it'll be the data storage platform for databases, coming from, and let's go over to the rack here, but coming from the growBox root. What I'll do is on that growBox root, I'll have everything go through the network here, in my little mini DevNet. I'll have it go over the 1 gig link here to the soil, which is also connected to it, and it's down here usually. So that's just like a little resting place on the rack. But it'll store everything, all the JSON or the JSON-based database, which is MongoDB. It'll store all that information via NFS over the network. And of course, I can get more speed as I have bulkier servers or faster servers that can, house a 10 gig NIC or something like that, or dual 10 gig NIC or a 40 gig NIC, and then of course have the proper switching fabric to handle all of that, and then of course have the proper card in here to handle all that as well. As it is, I won't go past a 1 gig, even like a 1 gig bonded, because all I have left is this PCI E1X slot, and that's only going to give me about a gig per second, I believe. So I don't know what the real numbers are when everything's actually written, so I'd have to actually look that up. But this system won't go past that really. I would have to put the 10 gig or even like a 25, a dual 10 gig, dual 25 gig network card. I would have to put it in that slot to actually get some decent performance numbers out of it that could actually say, oh, okay, we're not bottlenecked by the port. And they don't really make your 10 gig and 25 gig for anything less than a 4x, 8x slot. So I can't even put a 4-port gigabit card in here. So that's one thing that I have to deal with. But it's testing, and I should be getting better numbers otherwise. Oh, I did want to show you the back of this too. So this is the back of the case. DVI slot, USB-C right there, and USB super speed, and it says 10 there. So I guess it may be doing double that. It might be doing double what USB 3.0 does. So these are what they have relabeled from 3.0 to 3.1 now, and this might be your 3.2, which doubles the speed. of that technology, and then a DVI connector. I got the HDMI, and then this is for your mouse and all that stuff. But I see that these don't work too well from what I've seen so far. All right, okay, stuff is falling. What I've added to the rack here, better view. What I've added to the rack here is two Ubiquiti AC light wireless access points, and what I'm going to do on the root box here is actually install the control software, so the root box will also be a controller of your wireless network, so that everything can be provisioned from here, and then we can actually have wireless to any device that's out of band or far away, and that we wouldn't use power over Ethernet to actually reach. So that's just another thing that I thought of in terms of like adding more features. Now that I got this soil server in, kind of running out of excuses to get back onto this project, so I'll be getting onto that. I believe I already showed you guys the cooling fan for these devices here, because they have no fans within them, and I don't want it to heat up or anything like that while running. My house is pretty cool now, so it's fine. But that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to be doing is putting this all back together, putting the side cover on, running a couple more tests, getting ZFS provisioned and start up on here, and get it going. As always, thank you.